Can you hear me? All right. All right. It's a nice meeting you. So I'll be talking on ethical hacking, incorporating a fair cyber defense mechanism. So why do we incorporate ethical hacking in order for us to defend our organization? So before I start, I believe so much for you to really defend your organization, you must be able to think like an hacker. Because most of the time, what you are protecting your organization against is from those malicious people. I think it's very, very important. Over the course of my careers, I realized that it's very, very important for you to have an internal ethical hacker, internal red team operators, internal threat hunters. So these are the set of people that would think like a malicious hacker. Because if you don't think like them, you might not be able to put on a fierce defense mechanism. So I think, where's the... All right. So the objective is to gain a better understanding of why ethical hacking strategy can be adopted as a fierce defense mechanism. So before the end of this presentation, I'm going to walk us through on how ethical hacking is very, very important. And we are going to also walk us through the different strategy that can be adopted to make sure that your organization is well protected. So what is ethical hacking? So as we all know, so it involves an authorized attempt to gain unauthorized access to computer system. We all know that the goal of most hackers is to gain unauthorized access. And as we are all aware that data is the new oil. So most of the time, whenever they hack your application, whenever they hack your network, the end goal is data. For some of us working in a financial institution, the end goal of most malicious hacker is to gain have access to your financial data. And even whenever a nation, maybe a state hackers hack each other, the end goal is to gain access to confidential data, intellectual properties. So ethical hacking is just about involving duplicate strategy and action of malicious hackers. So definitely, for you to be maybe a first person, let's presume that you want to be an army, or you want to be maybe a state force personnel. You must be able to use all these dangerous weapons that the malicious people use, but you must be able to use that ethically. So this is a practice that helps to identify security vulnerabilities, which can then be resolved from a malicious attackers. So the definition goes on. So the objective is just for us to gain a better understanding. Sorry, I don't know, I'm coming back. Sorry, Bruce. All right, sorry. But most of the time, people use ethical hacking interchangeably with penetration testing. I'm going to tell us the difference between penetration testing and ethical hacking. So penetration testing is just one type of security testing which evaluates an organization's ability to protect its infrastructure, such as network, application system, and user from external as well as internal threats. So when you're talking of penetration testing, so penetration testing to me is a subset of an ethical hacking. So ethical hacking is very, very broad. And for you to be an ethical hacker, you must also understand the different tools, techniques, and tactics that this bad guy use. So it's very, very important. The way I've been running for the past few years, the way I've been running my organization, my security organization, I try as much as possible to ensure that I have some set of people I can, under my threat intelligence and vulnerability management, I have set of people that are red team operators, set of people that are penetration testers or ethical hackers. And what we do, we continuously assess the system, we continuously see what can go wrong from the system, from the security point of view. So it's more or less like a kind of you doing a continual testing. For example, if you want to really know whether, if you wear a bulletproof, whether the bulletproof is working, you test that bulletproof by doing a kind of a proof of concept. It's either you have a dummy. If you are not so sure of what you've done, put that bulletproof on a dummy and shoot that dummy. If the bullet enters, so that means that's not a correct bulletproof. So we should look at the ethical hacking in this same way. I will also share my experience. Over the course of my career, I've worked with various banks. I've also helped them to come up with a strategy to defend the organization. What I do when I used to be to be just a security engineer, even up to now, what I do, I ensure that on a routine basis, I have set of people that are well trained to adequately test the system to ensure that the system is not porous. What we do, and then most of the time, people don't take cognizance of the application security, especially the API, the mobile application. So most of the time, I have set of people that understand. And for you to be an ethical hacker, you must understand the technology very well. So as a CISO, you don't need to, yes, you need to have a workforce that has that capability. So if you've done that in the past, well, it's good. So it's very, very important. So during the penetration testing, security measures are actively analyzed for design weakness, technical flaws, and vulnerabilities. So you can look at your code, look at the code, whether the code is vulnerable, look at the APIs, look at what could go wrong, test for all the various levels of vulnerability, SQL injection, cross-site request forgery, and also as an ethical hacker, you must give yourself to research. So let's focus on the essence of this discussion. What are the benefits of conducting an ethical hacking? So for the purpose of this presentation, I'll be using ethical hacking interchangeably with penetration testing. But penetration testing is shallow, but ethical hacking is broad. So that's why I will focus more on ethical hacking. So what are the benefits? So it actively identify the threats and determine the probability of an attack on information asset. So ethical hacking gives you the opportunity for you to be able to understand the threat. What could go wrong? What could go wrong, and how a bad guy can actually hack into your system, and how a bad guy or a malicious person, at times, whenever you are developing a system, the system should be developed in such a way that even if at all you have a malicious people on the network, they'll be so cautious because you can never tell, because insider threat is very, very real. And during the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to meet up with a guy that used to be a programmer, an ethical hacker. The guy was looking for a job. He was not well paid as a programmer, and he decided to switch job to banking. But at that point in time, the job that was available for the guy was just an operation job. Operation job was more or less like a kind of a front desk person. Just imagine you hiring an ethical hacker or a programmer to be a front desk officer, and the person understands your system very well. So this guy immediately joined. He actually got that offer because he needed more money. He felt that he's been underpaid. So you can never trust everybody in your organization. There's some set of people that have the same skill set of a hacker, but they are not doing technology work. So you need to also protect your system against such people. So to cut the whole story short, I was able to engage this guy, and I was able to drag him to my team. Immediately I dragged into this guy to my team, in less than a month, the guy was one of the great performers in my team. The guy was even telling me that when you used to be a front desk officer, that these are the applications that are vulnerable and blah, blah, blah. So if I don't have that kind of a mindset, I wouldn't have known, because my system are porous. So when you are engaging ethical hacker, maybe to defend your organization, engage people with different background. People that understand technology, people that understand the processes, people that also understand the game of ethical hacking. So what are the other benefits? It gives you a comprehensive pen test gives you the assurance that the organization is operating within an acceptable and information security risk. You will be a better risk manager if you involve that strategy. You'll be a better cyber security risk manager. But if you don't involve that kind of strategy, I've seen in different organizations, people will tell you that the reason why they are not spending on some security investment is because they are able to accept the risks. The funniest part of it is that most business people don't even understand the risk. I've been in an organization that there are some set of controls that were not implemented because the techie executive feel that they can accept the risk. So immediately I joined the organization, I was able to reveal to them how vulnerable some of the systems are from the ethical hacking point of view. Immediately I showed them with the various proof of exploits how a malicious guy can enter into a mobile application and also exploit the API level vulnerability without even you accessing the mobile application. Just use your normal API console, maybe like Postman. From there you can be wiring transactions. Maybe like demonstrated to them, the organization did not feel that there is a need for them to have an API security gateway that is no longer acceptable. Most of the time, because we are a subject matter expert in our organization, we need to let the business be aware of the danger of not putting certain things in place. And the best way to do that is for us to engage in ethical hacking practice. So ethical hacking provides a comprehensive approach or preparation steps that can be taken to prevent upcoming exploitation. Because it's possible that people have not exploited your system because they are not aware that the vulnerability exists, or the bad guys feel that, okay, there is no vulnerability. But if you are engaged in ethical hacking practice, you'll be able to know whether exploitation exists. Because as an ethical hacker, what you need to do is not just you identifying a vulnerability. You need to do a proof of concept, whether the vulnerability actually exists. For example, in the bank sector, if somebody can leverage on the vulnerability on an application and also conduct a kind of a man-in-the-middle attack. So if you're able to demonstrate that, at least it gives you a real sense of a possible exploitation. Because it's possible that you are sitting on gunpowder and you are not aware of it. You are sitting on exploitable vulnerabilities and you are not aware of it. So during the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to carry out an exploitation on different OEMs. I won't mention names of OEM, different OEM products. I won't mention the name, but initially, when I was able to carry out the exploitation, they deny it, because most of the time, whenever you are liaising with OEM, you liaise with the account manager. You liaise with the not so technical person. But to cut the whole story short, when I was able to carry out this exploitation, some of this exploitation, because of the practice, they now realize that their global products has to be patched. So the vendor, the OEM, eventually accepted the vulnerability, that they accepted there is a security issue, and they told us that none of their clients globally has ever identified that kind of vulnerability. Because some of us, you think that because you engage a very big OEM, a very big technology OEM, maybe for some of your solution, that you are saved. So, but you can only get to know if you are saved if you conduct a routine ethical hacking. So it also ensures the effective implementation of security control and a better return on investment. Because at times, I think there was a time that my organization deployed a two-factor authentication, multi-MFA. People think that because they've implemented an MFA, everything is fine. Meanwhile, the MFA was not implemented correctly. So when I did a test, I realized that before I can log onto the system I need to enter my my multi-factor authentication, my token, and all of that. So immediately I log on, I did another test to be sure whether the MFA is being validated for all the processes. I log out of the application. I log on to the landing page. I realized that the MFA was not well implemented. The MFA was just implemented at the login page, not at all every other pages. So the ethical hacking give you the return on investment. So if you want to be sure whether your solution is well implemented, maybe you've implemented your firewall is well implemented. I've also been in an organization whereby I come in as a guest network user. As a guest network user, I was able to navigate through all the different different network segments. I was able to access the AD as a guest. I was able to do all sorts of things. So when I engaged the network admin, they told me that it's not possible, that they have the best network admin guy, they have the CCIE security, they have blah, 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 blah. When I did the simulation, they accepted that the fact that there is a problem. But initially, the guy was like, it's because I'm an ethical hacker. And I told him, who told you that all the guests that normally come, you may have somebody that is a malicious person. We just come in as a guest. You just come in, like we can be in this conference. Somebody can just come in and be accessing the network and also be navigated all through the network. So at times, you will not know whether your firewall is well implemented if you don't conduct. What I normally do, if I implement a solution, I ensure that the solution is subjected to serious testing. So you will not be able to get the return on investment. So also with this, we will not be able to achieve compliance. Yes, compliance is the least of my problems, so I can easily get compliance if I want to get compliance. So what are the return on investment? So it makes you to identify, address a vulnerability, and also makes you to demonstrate a critical process and all of that. So, in short, return on investment, it gives you a good return on investment on your security solution deployment. Because if you don't conduct ethical hacking, you will be thinking that your solution is well implemented, right? So we have different level of testing, but for this, we'll be more interested in the ethical hacking and penetration testing. We have security audit, we have vulnerability assessment, we have a penetration testing, but ethical hacking is more intrusive. So, and there are different approaches to it. You may have an idea of the system, that's white box testing. You may not have the idea of the system, that's black box, and you might have a fair idea of the system. But most of the time, if you are working internally, you do more of a gray box testing. But also, you can also simulate white box the white box testing. So, and also we have the blind testing, we have the double blind testing. So when you're talking of blind testing, so this simulates the methodologies of a real hacker. But when you're talking of double blind testing, few people in the organization are aware of the penetration testing being conducted. So you can use different approach for this the ethical hacking process. And at the same time, you have an announced testing and you have an unannounced testing. What I normally do, for example, if I want to test whether my SOC people are really on top of their game, I will just ask the red team without letting them know that can you just simulate an attack to be sure whether the SOC guys, the SOC analysts are actually working. Because some of these SOC analysts, they will just pick 1 or 2, 3 incidents per day, report 2, 3 incidents per day, they will feel that they've worked for the day and all of that. But you need to do a regular testing. It can be announced, it can be unannounced, and it depends on what you want. I think I've explained what I mean by gray testing. So how do you select an appropriate testing type? So it all depends on your organization. It also depends on your resources. It depends on both your technical resources, both your people resources, and all of that. So you can use an automated testing, but me, I don't go the way of automated testing. I would rather do some manual testing. So all those automated testing tools, if you don't know how to use them, you might you might run into trouble. You might do something that you're not supposed to do. You might exploit some. So I always believe that as a tester or as an ethical hacker, you must be able to know when to use automated testing and when to use the manual testing process. So what are the common areas of penetration testing? Yes, it's very broad. We have network penetration testing. If you want to test whether your firewall is well configured, if you want to test whether your application is well developed, whether they do secure coding practice, we have application penetration testing. We have social engineering penetration testing to test the level of awareness of your organization. We have a social engineering toolkit. We have wireless network testing. We have mobile device testing. We have a cloud testing. It's very, very broad. So what are the processes? Yes, we have the pre-attack process. We have the attack phase, and we have the post-attack process. And we have different methodology that one can adopt. We have different. We have the proprietary methodology like the EC Council, APT, License Penetration Tester methodology. IBM has their own methodology. We have McAfee, Funstone. But for the open source, we have OSTMM, we have ISA, we have NIST, we have OAPS, we have PCI DSS. So it depends, but I combine different methodologies depending on what I want to do. For example, if I want to do mobile penetration testing, I would rather go with OAPS. If I want to do OAPS methodology guide and all of that. If I want to test for compliance, for my PCI DSS compliance, there is a methodology, penetration testing methodology for PCI DSS. So what are the need for the need for the methodology? You need to look at the look at the hackers, the network that you want to target. Also, you also need to look at the standard, the documented and the repeatable results. Also, you also need to look at the so the need for the methodology also help the ethical hacker to plan their test, because if you don't follow methodology, you mix out some things. I follow methodologies a lot, so don't presume that you know everything. You have to follow the methodology. So, all right. So I think I've mentioned that. So these are some of this methodology, and so what are the things that you need to do as a ethical hacker? You need to have a note, pen. You need to have a voice recorder. Record everything recordable. So I have whenever I'm conducting ethical hacker, and I also encourage my team to have make sure that they are well prepared, because the amount of your preparation will determine the level and the depth of your exploit. So what are the essential stuff that you need to look at? You need to have a good higher experienced people that understand how to break stuff, people that understand technology, and so then you also need to look at the different ethics. First and foremost, you must have a written permission, and you must have an approval to do stuff. So like my organization, I make sure that all my team have an approval. I conduct a background test before I hire any ethical hacker into my organization. I also make sure that they attend conferences, something like this. And also, you also need to look at their skill set. There's some certification that they can do, like APT, like CH, and then also they must also have a very good communication skill. So ethical hacker must be able to present maybe vulnerabilities to both management and also to non-techie people and the techie people. So that's very, very important. So what are the responsibilities? I think I've explained that. So the risks, in summary, penetration testing is an effective way for determining how well your organization security policy, control, and technology. So if you want to test for the efficiency of your control, the effectiveness and the efficiency of your control, you need to conduct ethical hacking. At least you need to do that on a regular basis. It also gives you a comprehensive, provide an assurance that the organization is operating within an acceptable limit of information security. Give you the better sense of your cyber security risks, and also give you the opportunity to know the kind of tools and the kind of tools that you can engage on. So thank you. I don't know if you have any questions.
Asante sana. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Thank you.